Welcome back to the Infinite Life podcast. We've had a short break and we hope that you all had a wonderful festive season. Getting into 2023, before we start the spirit releasement season, I thought I would grab a few friends and have a chat with them about how they found participating in our last season, the Starseed season. So Starseeds was a concept that came about originally because Isaiah went automatically into a past life in Mintaka in her very first ever past life regression with me. And I was kind of like, what the heck? I didn't even know that Mintaka was a planet when she went into that regression. So to tell you how much I've learnt in the last year, it's, I don't even know about starseeds or past lives on other planets. That's how far much my knowledge has changed. So I was like, Mintaka, what's Mintaka? She's like, a planet. I'm like, okay. So I wanted to test a theory. What would happen if we grab some random people and ask their eternal mind stream? Is there something that your mind stream wants to share with? Is there a lesson, a skill, an ability, or some guidance that we can give to participants from lifetimes in other dimensions and locations other than Earth? I was curious, can we do it? Dolores Cannon is famous for taking people to other lifetimes and other locations, but I'm not Dolores Cannon. I'm Katische, and I don't have a 100-year track record of doing this. So it was an experiment, but I really didn't want to make it about I am this particular brand of Starseed. I am just this, I am that. And I guess what happened with it was that we saw between 1 and 4 non-Earth location times from each participant out of the 10 participants. And so we got a great idea of the understanding of our multi-dimensional selves. So today on the podcast, we have with us Megan, who is in episode 4. We have Myles from episode 6, and we have Erica, who was in episode 2. Welcome, guys. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Hello. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes, I'm here. I'm so glad to be here and to be invited.
Oh, thank you for coming back. So what was the most fascinating and interesting thing for me is that before we started this podcast season, we didn't know if anybody knew each other in other lifetimes. We knew that Megan was married to Myles because Megan and Myles have been on their own little mini series before on the podcast, but we hadn't had Erica on the podcast before. And lo and behold, Erica and Megan appeared in each other's lives. So that was fantastic. Myles, what was your reaction to hearing that Megan and Erica had been together in a past life?
I mean, honestly, it felt, I don't know, it felt right. To be completely honest, I mean, it, like, just throwing it out there, I was like, yeah, that sounds about right. Makes a lot of sense to me.
Explains why they're best friends, right?
Absolutely. And I know you probably have lots of questions ready, but, I thought it was really neat, all of that, the past life progressions that we got to do on your mini series, as well as the Starseeds. But I think with all of them, just kind of for listeners to understand just how this works and not to be afraid of a lot of the, losing words here for it, but it's not all heebie-jeebie kind of stuff. People get freaked out what they don't understand, but I think everyone, for the most part, understands dream interpretation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's dreaming, and then they're like, oh, well, what does this dream mean? Well, to me, it felt similar to something like that, but more powerful because you're the one doing the exploring and telling it. Every single one of these, I felt like it was almost like exactly what my subconscious needed to hear with every regression, every starseed. And it was just like, wow, very impactful. I was in tears in a lot of it. And I was just like, man, that really touched me because it wasn't somebody telling me what my dream was. It wasn't like a therapist, like, oh, well, that means such and such. It was pretty much me doing the telling and discovering, and you were guiding me. And that was really impactful for all of it, because it's really what my soul needed. And I recommend it to anybody. So if anybody's, thinking about it, get over the woo-woo, give it a shot. It's very impactful to have these types of stories told by yourself.
Mm.
It's just different, coming from yourself as opposed to being told, if that makes sense.
Totally does. It totally does. And I guess one of the things too is when you're in a hypnotic state, one of the lessons that we learnt with your two non-earth regressions, Myles, was that it doesn't matter if you get anything wrong, or it doesn't matter if you call somebody Glenn and the name's not Glenn. It's the meaning behind it that's important, not the semantics. The spirit guides and the you of other times have complicated and long names, and you're not expected to suddenly be superhuman. Whatever your mind interprets the situation as is correct, and is providing you with the messages and the images that your soul wants you to know. So you don't have to worry about getting anything wrong, or not being able to see, or not being able to hear. You'll hear exactly and see exactly what's intended for you to be able to communicate the message.
Yeah,
Now,
that's exactly right, and that's what it felt like. I felt like it was exactly what I needed to hear, and it was a great experience.
I just have to interject and say that, Myles, your testimonial, you're telling about it and everything, you had just the most beautiful words and the best way of putting it. I will have to give you that. It's like, I couldn't even explain that that's how it felt, but you're right. It was a dreamlike state.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And it's not, because sometimes when you hear like a dream interpretation, it may be wrong, but it's like when it's coming from yourself and you're the one in the hypnotic state and you're the one being asked the question by Katische, and she's just guiding. She's asking you the questions, you're answering them. It's like exactly what your soul needs, as opposed to just regular therapy, which people do all over the globe. The therapist is telling you how you should feel, but you're answering how you feel in these sessions. And I feel like that can't be described very well with words of how impactful that is for what you need in your soul. So hopefully, like you said, hopefully people listening to this podcast will understand, how impactful that could really be in their lives, and maybe get over the woo-woo and give it a shot. I mean, what's the worst could happen, right?
Exactly.
I hope that this becomes more popular and more people start doing things like this as much as going to therapy regularly and doing dream interpretation. I feel like it should be on that type of level, but it's just not. I guess people just feel like it's woo-woo.
Yeah. And Myles, one of the things that I noticed that both you and Megan and Erica, the three of you, out of all of the participants in the season, you three had very strong need in your soul to be helpers. And if you go back and have a look and listen to episode 4 for Megan, episode 6 for Myles, or episode 2 for Erica, you three have been beings who helped human beings with emotions and to receive guidance and healing.
Yeah.
I thought that was fascinating because they were really, really strong helping roles. And I have to tell you, and this does sound funny saying I'm the person who was guiding you through it, but honestly, one of the things that I took out from all of your sessions was specific questions. We sometimes ask for help and it's like really vague. Help, need more money, or help, I don't understand, or whatever. And I have to tell you, I've been standing there brushing my hair or doing my makeup and being, perplexed or frustrated or upset about something. And I think, okay, I'm just going to close my eyes for a minute a bit, and I'm going to imagine Erica, Myles, and Megan in their little glass rooms, their metal spaceships, and the yellow marshmallow Hershey blobby states, and I'm just going to ask them for help. So I've asked you guys for help so many times since that season went live. I'm like, Myles, help. And then I hear the ask a specific question, Katische. I'm like, okay, yes, I really need assistance with. So yeah, that's what I took away from all three of you was, don't forget that it's not just the angels you can talk to. There are versions of all kinds of energetic beings that are out there. And as we know, it's concurrent. So I'm like, well, they're hovering now. So Myles is still in that metal spaceship waiting for a call, and Erica's still in her call center, and so is Megan. And it's like, okay, yeah, I need the help. I'm not going to wait any longer. I'm going to ask. So I'm just wondering what you guys thought about the fact that you were all, did you notice that correlation that you were all helpers?
Yeah, I definitely noticed it, and I thought it was very fitting. All of us are definitely what you would consider to be empaths. We've always pretty much been more in tune with our true nature and things like that, more so than the families we grew up in or the types of people we grew up around. And so I think that it kind of makes sense to me, putting it in that perspective, that we would have already experienced a lot of emotions. So we have a lot of expertise in that area to where we can control and regulate our own. And so we gained that from helping all of these emotional beings and being on call for them all the time. And we just kind of obtained more knowledge that way. That's kind of how I interpreted it.
Mm-hmm. Erica, what did you think?
I definitely noticed that we were all helpers, and I agree with Megan. It was very fitting. I feel like it's like that in this journey as well. Everybody is always trying to help out in some form or fashion. Myles definitely, I'm not comparing any of us by no means, but Myles, I feel like in this lifetime, I'm not pushing. I'm just ready to see him step into his light, his full light, I guess I would say, because oh my gosh, I just feel like he's got some crazy powers that we're going to see through just from some of just listening, not even to just his Starseed, just a lot of his regressions, period. He's just got a lot of, I mean, like dream work that he could work with is just wild to me. So the fact that, I already knew that Megan was the helper. Myles was, somebody that I always knew helped out in this lifetime. So that makes sense. But, I didn't realize that he was I guess it took him a little while to get more woo woo. And so I just didn't realize that he had all the stuff that he has. It's just wild to me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I need you to start doing all of your like public speaking stuff that you're supposed to do, because it's going to be epic.
Thank you, Erica. So sweet.
You're welcome. I'm serious.
I know.
Yeah, I feel like everybody is, for the most part, just humans in this world. I feel like most people and most souls are very giving and nurturing for the most part. I think I'm one of those firm believers that is inherently good, and I feel like for the most part they are. I know that we've listened to a lot of the raw kind of ideology, and I feel like for the most part, that's right, and the light very much outweighs the dark in the universe as a whole. And I feel like most people want to be helpers, and most people are welcome to receive help for the most part. So I don't think it's even just us. I mean, I really feel that between us. And then I guess another thing that I've gathered from this is I feel like a lot of people with that law of attraction, I feel like that works with people and souls and soul families too. I feel like all of us on this call are drawn together because of who we are as a collective soul family all together in all of our lifetimes. I feel like we've all been those type of helpers, or we've been the receiving person needing that help, as I did in multiple of those past life regressions we did in the other mini series. If y'all haven't listened to that, check it out. Because it's like I needed that, and in this lifetime I felt like I needed to listen to those lessons. So it was really neat. And in the Starseeds as well, you know, I feel like that law of attraction really works on multiple lifetimes and souls, and like you mentioned before, you can reach out to those. So whether it's in the spaceship, the call center, or what have you, it's very important that you know that other people are out there to help, beings or what have you. It's really neat learning all that. So I'm very grateful to be able to be a part of this, for sure.
And have either of you three actually asked for help from your multidimensional selves since the sessions? Now that you know, and you listen to other people's sessions, you know that multidimensional help is there other than the archangels. Have you actually put this into practice? You're allowed to say no if you haven't.
Nope, I have. I just haven't really received confirmation yet.
Okay.
Concrete confirmation that I can just, talk about on the podcast, unfortunately. But it's coming, guys. It's coming.
Yeah. Erica,
Megan?
how about you? Oh, you have Megan? Yep.
Yeah, I have asked just for, I guess, more guidance on staying in alignment with where I need to be in currently. And so I've definitely received response energetically from that. And the connection that I guess I've maintained the strongest is the one with the guide that was with me during that journey, because that was our first connection that I was aware of. And so now that I have felt that energetically, because I'm very clairsentient, I don't see a lot, I actually feel. And so now that I know what that feeling feels like and who it is, that's helped me connect to that energy, that part of myself more.
So you're talking about Moira? Yeah. Okay. And how about you, Erica? Have you asked for help from anyone?
Yes, I have. I received a activation code during one of mine, and if you remember, it was during where I was in like a yellow area.
Yep.
I still do not know the guide's name. I call him like a little yellow dude.
Yeah, the yellow Hershey man or whatever you said. Yeah.
Yes. And so, yes, I actually use him quite often, and it has helped me just like I guess what Megan said, like energetically, it has, I've called on that a lot lately to get my frequency to where it needed to be, I guess, where I'm at right now, where I'm spiritually. For a while I don't want to say like not practicing at all, because that sounds so blah, that wasn't it, but I was going through a very dark night of the soul, I guess. Like it was just a period of time where I was just not as active, and I was not doing as much. I didn't even know that I really realized I was like that. But nevertheless, since I have received that activation and I've called on him quite a few times, actually probably a lot, to be honest, and I feel like I have shifted completely from where I was. It's helped me in a lot of ways.
That's good to hear.
And I can't. Yeah,
sorry?
I can't. No, I was just saying I can't. I mean, I can't really remember. I don't believe that was the one that was tracking me, but then at the same time, it may have been. But either way, I feel like when I lost the tracking device that I had and everything else, that I honestly felt lighter, if you will.
Yeah, it was Obsidian that was tracking you.
Yes.
Right. Yeah. The yellow Hershey man commented about your being able to receive light codes, but you were ignoring them before you didn't realize that yellow light was light codes coming through. And then the second thing he commented on was that you do hear and you get messages clairaudiently, but you hadn't realized that that's what they were. So how's that been going with noticing light codes and hearing?
So I noticed the light codes because that's actually one of the things that made me communicate with him more. And I do see more of like the yellow hue and stuff. But as far as actually still hearing, I still have a block with that, I guess. I still see more visually, and I know that I can hear. I know that I have that ability, but I still see more visually.
I can understand that. I mean, one Starseed session is not going to make you magically perfect at all these abilities and things that they say. It's an ongoing process. But it's the point is that it starts the process and it starts the awareness. And nobody says that you can only have one session, but it's an awareness. One of the things that I noticed for all three of you was that, because I wrote down a little list here of what abilities they said you had in your multiple lifetimes, and you all came through as having telepathy. You all had empathy very strong. And then, so Erica, it said clairvoyance for you. Megan, it had your healing powers with animals, and you were hand activated with Reiki. And then Myles had astral traveling and communicating at a conscious level. So does anybody want to talk about their telepathic abilities? Oh, and Megan also had the one that I talked about was the telekinesis. Anyone want to talk about the telepathy and how you're using telepathy in your life? Or want to talk about any?
I use telepathy. I feel like every time I work with my clients.
Yeah, of course. Yep.
It's not necessarily like I'm receiving it in thought form, but sometimes I do, and I don't even realize that that's what I'm doing, but I am constantly receiving impressions, and then I'll repeat what I'm feeling or what I'm hearing or what I'm seeing back to them, and they will normally respond and say something like, I was just saying that to my friend, or I was just saying that to my partner, or I was just thinking that. And so I would say that's probably how it shows up the most for me right now.
Mm-hmm. And Myles, you were given the gift of astral traveling back. How's that going?
It's been going pretty good. I haven't had it as many to where I've always have that issue, which I think I've disclosed on the podcast, where a lot of the times when I astral travel, I'll kind of wake up shortly afterwards, and it'll usually be around like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. Then I'll go back to sleep, and then I won't remember. So I haven't remembered as many. I need to keep my dream journal like open at all times. But I don't want to wake up my wife since she has to wake up earlier than I do to go to work. I feel bad. But no, it's been going pretty well. I haven't had any of the issues that I had previously with like feeling, dark entities or anything like that. And it's just the same as it was. It's like, I guess we describe it as telepathy, but it's almost like everything's all communicated through feeling when that happens, which is really neat. It's almost like I can feel exactly what they feel in that astral travel, and it's really neat. But it's been going pretty well. As I think we talked about on one of our sessions, that's kind of a one-on-one kind of thing, and I'm getting more of the feeling that I need to do something, I guess, a little bit more impactful, like maybe, kind of like this podcast. It reaches out to multiple people at a time. So I know that a lot of people really think that that's a neat ability, and it is, and I'm very grateful to be able to do the astral travel. Don't get me wrong, but I feel like talking about it and telling people about that gift is more impactful than actually doing it, because it's one-on-one. If that makes any sense at all, because there's going to be more than one person listening to this, I guarantee that, and them hearing about this podcast and what you do is more impactful than me doing that.
Okay. And Erica, one of the other things that came up in your session was from the Yellow Hershey man, was that you had the ability to heal by touch. Now, I know that you don't like touch in this lifetime. How are you going with hugging and touch in general yourself, now that you had that revelation that you actually had an ability to heal other people through your touch?
I would say that I'm a lot better with hugging. I was already working on that previously, but I'm a lot better with it than I have been in the past. I don't mind it so much. I think that with my job and the line of work that I do, I tend to do a lot of work around and touching somebody energetically wise. Like I pull a lot from people as I'm cleaning their teeth, and I pull their energy. And I did not realize that that weighed me down. So I think that also that too had something to do with me not wanting. I mean, I don't know. It may not have, but I just feel like it had something to do with me not wanting to touch people as much, to where I try to. And I did get this from my little yellow Hershey guy, and I also got it from getting Reiki. And Megan's told me, a million people have told me that I am pulling energy from people and that I needed to do something to protect myself. So I normally do embody my hands and things like that with like a yellow light before I begin working and things. And so I feel like I don't mind touch near as much now.
Okay,
But
great
that,
news.
yeah.
You
Yeah,
know, I don't want to
sorry, Myles.
sidetrack this too much, but that makes a lot of sense to me, Erica. Like, because I think, you know, one of the statistics about dentists is they're one of the higher suicide rate type
Mhm.
jobs, right? But that makes a lot of sense because I guarantee you, I'm not sending out positive energy when people are drilling and poking in my teeth. I
No.
guarantee you that. I might try to, but you know, when you get me in them gums, I'm not in a happy place. That's not my happy place. Nope, no, ma'am.
Mm.
And then when you find the cavity and you're like, oh, is this it? You got to just jab it in there. And I'm like, girl, yeah, you found it, you know? So that makes a lot of sense on a spiritual energy type level because they're not sending good vibes when they go in there.
No.
So taking that all day, every day from multiple different patients, yeah, I could see how that would, you know, I see why that could be the high suicide rate job right
Mm.
there, you know, because man, nobody likes going there. So, and they're just sending
Mm-mm.
that energy vibe,
It's interesting,
all
isn't
their
it?
pain and worries that whole time.
I took my kids to the orthodontist the other day, and I came home and I was like, geez, I was a bitch. And I didn't even mean to be. But it's like the minute I walked into the dentist's office, I get a bit of an ego attitude. It's like, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? And I'm really quite aggressive. I don't mean to be, but I know what I want. And I walk out of there and I'm like, who is that girl? You know? So maybe it's feeding off the energy. They say that the energy sticks in the walls of the dentists as well, because there's so many people that go through pain, trauma, grief, and they just fear. Fear is a big energy in dental offices. So I guess, you know, anything that we can do to make a dentistry space calming for people with perhaps aromatherapy and, you know, clearing the energy using crystals. I mean, Megan, you're more of an expert on that than me, but that would make sense on a way. It would make it also easier for Erica to work.
Absolutely. And to that point, her gift was the healing touch. And that makes her the perfect person for that job.
Mm.
You know, like that is who needs to be in that role. So that is great because they're going to be sending those negative vibes, but you have that healing touch. So that makes a lot of sense that is what you do for a living.
Mm.
Mhm.
And we all know that, you know, it doesn't take much for somebody just to put their hand on your hand and for them to transfer that calm energy if you're feeling, you know, if you're feeling a little bit on edge. And Megan, I know you have a lot to say, so I thought I'd just let you have a bit of the floor for the moment.
I'm derailing
Um,
everything. Sorry, guys.
No,
I'm
you're good.
talkative. Okay.
No, it's good. We love it, Myles. We love it.
oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean, I would say my favorite thing about the entire Starseed session that I did was just the feeling that it gives you afterwards, because it was different from my other regressions that I've had with you. And my other regressions that I've had have been very eye-opening or very healing, very nurturing, bringing me through this grief or this experience that I need to feel in order to heal. But this was very empowering. Like, it was very just, you can do this. It was very encouraging. And it really, honestly, it healed a lot of things that I had around my confidence, around my abilities. And for me, that was what I needed. And it was just, yeah, it was just insane, the amount of energy that shifted in my body, the amount of things I was able to release, let go of, and then step into, honestly, a better version of myself.
Right, great. Yeah, I tried to watch Everything Everywhere at Once, the movie that just got the Golden Globe. Have you seen that movie? No, it's so there was a picture from the Golden Globes the other day, and it was a picture of Jamie Lee Curtis celebrating, and I apologize, I don't remember the actress's name. She's the lead role in the
I've seen that
movie.
picture. I've seen that meme and that.
Yeah, Everything Everywhere
yeah.
All at Once. Now, I could only watch half of it because it's just too violent for me, and I was just like, but in that movie, the entire point of the movie is, the bit that I saw anyway, is that she can access the powers of her other incarnations in the current lifetime. I was like, they made a movie about Starseed season. But literally, she has to put on earbuds though, and then she's got to think something from the lifetime that she was in, or eat it, or do something, and then she gets those powers. And I'm like, well, you don't need the earbuds. You could just got your mind stream. But it was like, wow, there's a visualization. There's a whole movie about harnessing your powers from the other lifetimes. And that's what I didn't expect from this season, but I think is also what I want to embody more in the work that I do, is to help people realize that, one, you're not alone. You're never. There's always the angels there and your spiritual teams, the spirit guides. But two, there's thousands of you hanging out at the same time, and they've all got advice and guidance and abilities and things that you've learnt in those lifetimes that you can tap into. And it's like, that's the next level of being human, is to push the ego aside and the personality that you've got, because we're all fairly attached to our personality. It's our identity. It's who you are, but it's not who you are. The I am Katische is, well, actually, it's not Katische. I'm not Katische. I am so much more than Katische. And so are you. And I guess that was one of the things I wanted to bring forward from sessions from now on is, yes, we can remove limiting beliefs and obstacles, but we can also use the sessions to harness your power, bring in guidance from other people, receive messages from loved ones who've crossed, get healing from angels. There's just so much more complexity into the things that you can tap into to realize that you are never alone, and you are not just you of now who's coping with his or her struggles in the now moment. You've got as many different versions as there are you, are the different perspectives that you can gain from all of your lifetimes. And I think that's something that I would just love people to explore more. Megan, how have you gone with you? I'm not sure if it was just before the season you started doing Reiki training. And in that episode, your second lifetime, you were looking after the interesting animals with all the beautiful descriptions of the blue rhinoceros. And they said that you had healing powers from working with the animals. Have you been drawn more to animals, or how's your Reiki going? Are you integrating that into your business a lot more now? Where are you at with your Reiki?
So I have started doing more Reiki. I started offering that publicly, which before I wasn't offering it publicly. I was only still doing it on friends and family and myself and my pets. So I actually did move into allowing that to happen. And then I didn't put this together until today, when I was reminded of the session that probably 2 weeks ago, I actually channeled some information about spirit animals, and I have not shared this with anyone yet. So this will be the first that it's being talked about, but it's something that I'm going to put together for a future episode and blog or something like that. But it just came to me out of nowhere. And I would say, yeah, I've definitely been feeling more drawn to animals lately, and I just didn't realize why until today.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And that's the really important thing that I really didn't empathize much in the last in 2022, but I'm going to be really kind of stern, teacherish on it, is the power of the transcript and the power of watching back your own session, either the video or the audio. I mean, I know when I'm preparing the episodes, I will watch each episode 3 or 4 times by the time it's participating with you, to editing it, to playing it back, to then trying to watch it on social media as well to kickstart the Facebook recognizing it. So I watch each session 3, 4, 5 times. So it is a new insight. I gain a new insight myself every time from the episode. So, and I think the power too of the transcripts that you get with it, because to go through the transcripts and actually highlight what's important to you and significant to you, and then work through that on a conscious mind level, gives you that next level as well. Because yes, you experienced it when you were in hypnotic state and you had things revealed to you, but when you do it in a conscious state and you go through your transcript and you take a highlighter, and you'll see things that you hadn't seen before, and you'll understand more about yourself each time you read that transcript. And for myself, I am going back and revisiting my own sessions that I do and rereading my own transcripts, because it's really brought awareness of how I can access help, how I can understand who I am a bit more. So right to the point that, when I did a session with another person, Dawn Katina, and she brought through the first spirit animal that I hadn't realized that I had any relationship with animals, like at all. I just thought I was, an average pet owner. And now Malachite, who's my phoenix, is my logo. And I've had an artist design. She channeled Malachite so that Malachite could come into physicality, graphically speaking. And I also now, because I, like Myles, can have quite troubles with sleeping, especially around 3 o'clock in the morning. The energy is just so. I now ask Malachite to come onto my shoulder every night before I go to sleep. And so Malachite, we have a deal. You just got to try and get me to 4:30, Malachite, 4:30, and then I'll get up. But that's usually with a toilet stop as well. But yeah, if I can get to 4:30, I'm ecstatic. And if I forget, they're the nights that I don't sleep well. But yes, it's taking those lessons from the transcripts and going, I do have a connection with the animals. Even if I forget about it in the conscious mind level, when I go back and read my transcript, I remember, yeah, I've got a phoenix that's always been with my soul that wants to help. And Phoenix is a pretty interesting looking, and he's also been a falcon for me in another lifetime. And you don't stuff with falcons, do you? They're pretty scary looking things sometimes. So my protector. So yeah, there's lots of different ways that you can use your session to really gain insights into the resources that you have, that we're human. We forget about all the different beings and people that are there to help you. Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see where your journey with the animals and the Reiki goes. So was there anything else that you guys wanted to cover? Any other insights or anything that really, what I wanted to ask you was there something that surprised you from each of your sessions? Something that you're like, oh, really? Positively or negatively, doesn't matter. Like, what was the most unexpected part about your sessions? It could just be that you were you expected to be afraid and you weren't afraid. It could be something simple as that. We are talking about aliens in newspaper lingo.
Myles, you go first.
Okay, I was waiting on you. I guess just, I don't know, it's hard to describe the feeling until you really do it. But like you said, just entering that dreamlike state and just waiting for, that information or that download or spirit of the universe, or what terminology you use best, but to speak to you and to come into you. It's really a amazing experience that I wasn't expecting. I know that we did the past life regressions too, but it's just like when it happens, and I know that I'm probably slower than most reaching out to that because I come from the South in the States, so a lot of this stuff is woo woo, and you have to get past that to really get into it. So it's just like it's almost like those walls have to come down, and then when spirit, universe, what have you, speaks to you, it's just really empowering, and it's an amazing experience to really have that experience, for lack of a better word. And it's incredible because it's not just some story or fantasy or something like that. It's just like that truly happened. That's really out there. It's like you get that familiarity feeling when it comes to you, if that makes sense. It's different from watching like the movie you talked about. It's like, okay, that's really cool. It's nice to have that visual, but when you go through these sessions yourself, you really know then. It's not just something you see that would be in a fiction section in a library. You know it as truth when it's you in that hot seat or that sleep session or whatever you want to call it. But when you're into that hypnosis, you know it as truth, not as fiction.
Absolutely,
Going through
yes.
these sessions puts it in the non-fiction section for me, and I think that was very empowering.
Mm.
Yeah, I will say for me, probably what surprised me the most was really how I felt afterwards. Like I knew that I would feel good because there's always an energetic release when we do sessions with you, Katische. But this was different because it was like not what only was I releasing energy, but I was being filled up with so much new, vibrant, lively energy. So it was very filling. It was very just empowering. And so I wasn't expecting to feel like that good afterwards. Like I was amped up.
I remember when you finished. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was definitely surprising I would say, for me, for sure.
Great. I know that not talking about this particular season, but Myles, from your episode when we went back to the Native American lifetime. And for me, that answered my own surprising questions. And witnessing your Native American lifetime, and then understanding when I appeared in it, actually relieved for me a whole bunch of guilt I had about a previous career, if you can believe that. So I had a very unsuccessful career for 5 years doing essential oils. Highly unsuccessful financially, but totally mentally stimulated, and had a ridiculous knowledge about plants that just came to me as soon as I started using essential oils. Just like felt like telepathic transfer, osmosis. Do you know what I mean? And it wasn't until you did that regression session in the Native American I can't know why I keep saying lifetime, and I saw myself in that it actually made sense based on who I was in that lifetime. Did you figure it out yet?
You were I guess, the healer medicine woman.
Yeah. And that just I can't tell you how many tears I've cried about that failed career.
Well, I mean,
just it occupied so much grief for me, because it was like, again, and the key to past lives is the irrational amount of grief associated with a sense of failure. And that's
absolutely.
gone now. That's gone now for me. It was a huge relief.
Knowing that about you makes a lot of sense too. And I will say this about essential oils, and I know this isn't for everyone, but I feel like essential oils and really getting in that organic state of using those types of medicinal aromatherapy, I feel like that kind of puts you in like the smallest version of these types of hypnotic states that you go through with these sessions with Reiki and those type of things, I almost would want to call essential oils like the gateway drug into the woo-woo.
Oh, yes,
Does
absolutely.
that make sense?
They
I
are,
feel like
because
the first step is essential oils, then
it was for me.
podcast,
It was the first step was
then
essential
boom.
oil. Yep, because it opens
right.
up your olfactory system, right? You become more sensorily aware, and you can manage your emotions. And yeah, it was
Essential
definitely
oils
the
is the
stepping.
alcohol cigarettes of the spirit community right there.
Yeah, I remember.
Quick, somebody start a
I
business again.
remember- I remember at the beginning of my journey, before I was like out of the broom closet or whatever, before I told Myles that I was experiencing all these things, I was just like, oh, it's just crystals and essential oils, babe. It's fine.
I was afraid that he wasn't
exactly.
gonna.
It starts with bath bombs, essential oils, then crystals, then I'm telling you, podcast, TV shows, Reiki, and then it goes from there, and then it's like, boom, whole new lifestyle.
I was afraid that
Sorry, I
Myles wasn't
didn't
gonna
mean to
let
cut you
me
off, Erica.
talk to her. No, you're fine. I just was afraid that you weren't gonna let her talk to me anymore.
You're the drug pusher.
No.
No, I'm just kidding. The essential oils drug pusher.
So, did you used to sell oils,
Crystals.
Erica?
No, I just, when Megan and I were talking one day, I was like, we were both like in the beginning phases of it. And I was just like, Megan, have you ever like used witchcraft or crystals or like, and I was like, but hear me out, no judgment. She's like, no, like no judgment. Cause we already had that connection, but I just was sure, like, I don't know, my husband's not, I mean, he's goofy in himself, but I'm not saying he doesn't really care as much, but Myles, and I'm not saying that Myles really cares. I just was afraid that Myles was gonna be like, she's crazy, don't talk to her anymore. But
I mean, I don't know if I've disclosed this, but I'm like a banker. I come off as a straight-laced banker in the
no, I
Bible
figured that
Belt
out now.
community. So it's like, when you see me, it's like, nah, that guy is not. You would think I'd be one of the last people to be on this podcast. I mean, honestly.
It's
You
true
know.
though. But you're nothing like that.
Yeah, it's funny. I only know you from the session, so I don't in this life. Anyway, so I don't see the professional side of you, and it's interesting how our professional careers can either be a way of providing contrast to bring out our spiritual things, or they can be the way that we deliver our spiritual services. So I think, like, for Erica, it's both. It's a contrast, but it's also a way in the future you can provide the healing touch. For Megan, it's easy because I don't even know what you do other than your mediumship and Reiki. I don't know what you do in real life, but
you'll never guess.
Well, we're not talking about that because we're not speaking it into existence because it's going to go away soon.
Okay,
So-
all right. So I'm happy to remain totally oblivious
We'll say it's
till the
close
afterlife.
to what I do.
Right. Okay. And then
She
you
makes it
Myles.
sound
It's even more boring and straight-laced than a banker, I'll tell you that.
Ooh. Okay. See?
That's not what she does now, though, right? That's not what she does now.
That's right.
No. I'm a healer now.
You are. All right, my friends. Unless anybody has any further insights or revelations or things that they learned, we might wrap it at that on the hour. So, thank you once again for being part of the podcast and being part of my life. Thank you for supporting the podcast as we have been learning how to navigate the different seasons and the different themes. And thank you for being brave and jumping on board. I know that I can't remember if all three of you, yes, all three of you are involved in the spirit releasement season. So once my kidlets go back to school, I'll get to editing those and that'll be the next season. So I'm hoping that will help people understand energetics and about absorbing people's energy and earthbound spirits and a whole bunch of stuff. So you will still be top of mind with our podcast listeners as we go into the next season. So thank you once again. And unless you had anything else, we'll say namaste.
Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for this opportunity. It has been great.
Yes,
Thank
thank you.
Okay. Thanks, guys. I really appreciate that.